Hey, welcome to Clarity Tarot. Today's reading, I'm actually going to do two readings, very similar topic and same structure, and they're going to be how was the interview? So, on a career level, like an interview that either you've had already or that you're going to have, either way. And so that's what we'll be doing today. And our next reading is going to be how will the date go, or how did the date go? So that will be on a personal level, either romance or friendship. So we have 6 different piles today. This will be a general reading. You'll see a significator on each of the piles, which is from the Pocket Animal deck. And this is meant to represent you in the interview. Of course, in some cases it could be reversed, but for the most part, this is going to be you in the interview. And we have 6 piles. First pile has the rabbit. Second is the bear. Third card is the elephant. Fourth is the wolf. Fifth is the deer and the crow. And 6 is scorpion. So take a moment and consider which pile might be the reading for you, and I will see you at your reading. Hey, pile 1, if you picked the rabbit, this will be your reading. And so here you are as the rabbit, and let's look at your cards. We have Ace of Cups and the Knight of Swords. And now I want to draw a significator for the people interviewing you. So for pile 1, please, Spirit, if they showed up as the rabbit or will show up as the rabbit, can you give me a card for the interviewers, please? Nothing's wanting to jump out quite yet. Okay, we have the fox. Okay, so first let's talk about the rabbit and the fox. These are both earth animals. So despite how it might appear to you in this interview, you actually have a lot in common with the people that are interviewing you. Like, you have a very similar worldview and foundation, which is really positive. There's just a very big difference here in experience. And I'm even seeing it like come through in the face here of the animals. Like the rabbit just looks very young to me, a little bit skittish. And the fox is like the wise old elder, which, I mean, isn't that how it should be? If you're interviewing, hopefully it's someone that you want to learn from and partner with. And so, like, let's talk about these archetypes a bit. The rabbit, this energy, it's friendly, it's talkative, but it can be a little bit fear-based. Skittish is a word I used already, kind of like unsure or fearful. There can often be a sense of like darting around or hyperactivity or like talking too much with the rabbit, doing too much, thinking too much, like needing to slow down and actually listen more. The fox, when the fox is in balance, there's a sense of wisdom, strategy, knowing what to say and when to say it. And when the fox is out of balance, it can be a little bit sneaky, like holding your cards too close to your chest kind of deal. And it can be just closed off to collaboration and influence from others. So with the cards that you're getting here, the Ace of Cups and the Knight of Swords, what I'm getting is that this interview, there'll be a very natural connection between you immediately. And this interviewer is going to be very interested to take things further. If it's a first interview, they're going to want to bring you back. If it's a second interview, they're very, very interested potentially in giving you the job. Now, for those of you where you have not had this interview yet, if I could give you one piece of advice for it to go as well as it possibly could, it would be to ask thoughtful questions and be sure you're listening to the other person. Sometimes we can go into an interview and feel like I'm here to promote myself. I want to make sure I give them the best answer possible. What are they thinking of me? Am I doing okay? And we're so up in our own head and our own experience, we're not actually thinking about what is this like for the other person. And this reading is coming through, I think, to let you know to do that, to consider that. Like this fox wants to know that you are on their team, that you understand their point of view, their needs, and what's going to be important, and come alongside. So with the Knight of Swords, what I'm getting, and I want you to really take the message that like they loved you, they want to hire you, they want to take it further. But this person is wise, and I think that they go by my favorite piece of advice in interviews, which is you should never hire someone unless you understand their downside, because everyone has a downside. And if you go into a situation not understanding it, then you're not being an informed hirer. You're not being an informed consumer. Like same with anything you're buying. Like if you're buying a car, you should know what's the upside and the downside to whatever you pick, because there's always a downside. And this person sees your downside. And for them, it's that you don't always consider the things that you say. I think you're so focused on what's happening inside you and maybe managing your own anxiety is what I'm getting, that you just say whatever you're experiencing. And on the one hand, it's kind of endearing and they love you for this because you're very transparent and straightforward. On the other hand, there is an element of like leadership that's lacking here, because any situation you go into, whether it's an interview or a meeting that you might have at this company later, it's a higher level of wisdom and leadership to be able to see, okay, what does each person in this room need? And what do they want to hear? What would be helpful for them to hear? And what would not be helpful for me to talk about right now? So obviously it takes time to build that and understand that. And you're in the process of that. You're probably much younger in your career than this person. And they see that as an area for development for you, that essentially you need to grow in your understanding of other people's agendas that are in the room. Because if you don't know what their agendas are, then you're kind of at the mercy of somebody else's goodwill towards you, and they're on how willing they are to be honest with you about their preferences or point of view, which sometimes is not that honest. I mean, let's be real. So this person sees that you need to perhaps over time in your career listen more, talk less, observe more, and when you speak, be strategic about what you choose to share based on who is in the room. But in this case, it looks like you shared very openly with this fox, maybe to a degree that they would have thought, like if it was the fox as the interviewee, sorry, as the person being interviewed, they probably wouldn't have shared as much because they would have been thinking about the person in their seat. And so they just noticed that you don't have that skill yet. But there's a really strong, positive connection here. I mean, both the rabbit and the fox grow from greater interpersonal connection. And so I think they saw that about you too, that's something that you would want and would be positive for you. And they also want that, and they specifically want it with you. So I would expect an offer or a second interview from this person. So congratulations, that's awesome. And I hope you don't take it too much to heart what they were thinking here on the downside, because honestly, it really does just show wisdom to me on the part of the fox. And isn't that great? I mean, how often do you get to be interviewed by someone that truly has the skills and a lot of the things that you want to look up to or learn from? That's pretty amazing. Okay, let me just see if there's anything else that wants to be said here about how the interview went. So if you have not had this interview yet, then the advice would be ask more questions. Prepare at least 3 or 4 questions. One of my favorite questions at the end of the interview would be something like, what qualities are you looking for? What do you think would help this person be the most successful? And what makes your job easiest? What would you want to see in this role that supports you in your role? Like, how could I be a good partner to you if I got this job, essentially? So, this was your reading pile one. I hope it was helpful for you. Leave a like, comment, or subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye. Hey, pile two, if you picked the bear, this is going to be your reading. Let's see what cards you have. We have the Five of Cups. And now I'm going to pull a significator for the person interviewing you. So for pile two, please. We have three. Was this a panel interview? We have the sea serpent, the earthworm, and the eagle. Three very different personalities here. Okay. So first let's talk about the energies up here. So the bear is an energy about like waking up from hibernation, like waking up from slumber. So you might be interviewing, this might be your first interview in a long time. Like maybe you've been unemployed for a while, or maybe this is a different kind of job than what you've had in the past. This is actually, I'm going to tell you a story in a minute, but it reminds me of something. But anyway, I'm really getting this as three different people. So I think you had like a panel interview. I suppose for one of you out there, it could be all the same energies within one person, but there's three separate people. One person who's the sacral chakra energy with the sea serpent. So they're very focused on like creativity, starting something new and what are the possibilities. Earthworm is like grounded, dependable, valuable, kind of like the nuts and bolts person. And then the eagle is like the leadership, visionary energy. And we have as your energy here the Five of Cups. So like they're noticing Five of Cups is energy of grief and noticing what's missing. And I'm wanting to tell you a story here that I think might apply to you. So my first, I would say most professional interview at a big corporation was when I was in my 20s. And I was referred through a headhunter. So they got me the interview, and it was an interview with Deloitte, which is a big audit and consulting firm. And it was for an admin position. I'd only ever been an admin before a few different places that were more like a mom and pop kind of level of organization. I'd never been in like corporate America. And so my resume at that time, I think, was under a page and did not have a lot of detail. And I just carried myself like more of like a small town person, you know? Like, yeah, I can do your admin for you. I've done it all these other places. Just let me know what day to start. It was kind of, kind of my attitude. And which isn't right or wrong. It just wasn't culturally not a fit for this place that I interviewed at. And I had an interview with this woman who would potentially be my supervisor. And in the interview, she said, why are you even coming in here with this resume? Like, don't you know where you're interviewing? It was actually, I think she actually got reprimanded actually later about how she did the interview with me because it was pretty unprofessional. But she was like, you're a good candidate. Like your answers are really good, but these materials that you've created for me don't show that. And like, I can't hand this to anybody. Like, how can I represent you to my client internally and say, this will be the best admin for you? And they look at your resume and this is what they see. Like, this is not just going to work. It's just, you need to totally rewrite this if you want to apply somewhere like this again. And I just listened to her and I said, thank you. And I actually wasn't that demoralized from that interview somehow. I was like, okay, well, she's giving me helpful feedback about how to make it in this subculture, I guess. And what ended up happening is I was not hired for that role, but she passed me on to somebody. There was somebody else in the room, like another admin supervisor. And she took me for that role. So basically I did end up getting the job. And I think really, performed very well in it. I was a very good hire, I would say, in that job. But this is reminding me of that first interview. It's like they're seeing your potential, and also that you're not quite what they're going to need for this role, but they're thinking of you for something else, or for maybe something very similar, but within the same group. Now, it's going to depend. So for each of you, some of you might, depending on who you interviewed with, like some of them do have a different role that they can give you, and some of them don't. So you'll know your situation, like how big is the company, whether they'd be able to move you into something else. But again, to use my situation as an example, I was being interviewed to be an admin for like the what was it called? The ERS department. So it was Enterprise Risk Services. It was like working with a lot of government contractors. It was like a higher level of professionalism, I guess I'm going to say it that way, than what I ended up working for. Like I ended up actually being supporting like the head of all the admins and training all the admins and also doing the support around the operations, like the facilities people and stuff. So I was more like inwardly facing versus outwardly facing to the clients. And so I think there's something like that here with you. Like they're thinking of you as perfect for like an internal role, but not one maybe that's as externally focused. And by the way, that was absolutely the right call on the interviewer's part for me. Like I would not have, I don't think people would have been very happy with me, nor would have I been very happy in that role if I had to like do a bunch of tax related admin support for people, more government contracts. So anyway, all to say, how did the interview go? They liked you, they see your value, and I would say that they see you pretty clearly here. And they're just kind of bummed that they can't say yes to you because it's not an exact good fit. This role that they have is not quite what would be good for you in their estimation. And so they're going to try to find something else that is a better fit that's very similar. And they may or may not have that role depending. So I want to actually pull a card for you on that because you might be listening and like, okay, well, how do I know if they actually have a role or not? Like, so is there anything more you can give us, Spirit, for pile 2 on whether there will be another connection made or another role? Like, how will they know which group they're in here? I have a bunch of them falling out. Can I just have a card or two? Thank you. The Empress. Okay, this is a very specific message, and I really want, if this resonates with someone, please let me know. If there was someone pregnant that interviewed you, which of course you may or may not know, but if someone pregnant interviewed you, then they have a role for you. This could also mean that maybe they have someone who's going on maternity leave and they might want to bring you in on a temporary basis while that person is out to kind of try you out versus, bring you in for a full-time kind of situation. Yeah, so how did the interview go? Good and bad. Good that they like you, that they want to find a spot for you. Bad that they may or may not have a role for you. But this is how to tell if they do. Okay, pile 2, this was your reading. I hope it was helpful for you. Please let me know in the comments if you want to share anything about your situation. And thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I will see you in the next reading. Hey, pile 3, if you picked the Elephant, this is going to be your reading. Let's see what cards you have. Knight of Wands, Queen of Wands, Seven of Wands. Whoa, fire. And look, the elephant's like holding some fire also. Okay, and now I want to pull a significator for the people who interviewed you, person or people. So for pile 3, please, Spirit, kind of a significator for who interviewed them. Okay, and we have the Butterfly. Okay, pile 3. So first let's talk about the Elephant versus the Butterfly. So it's interesting because like in pile 1, we had what I would say is almost like the opposite of what we're seeing here. In pile 1, there was someone with a lot less experience being interviewed by someone with a lot more experience, which typically, is what you would hope to see. And here, I feel like the person that's interviewing you, like you could be their boss, maybe, pile 3. And I don't know how obvious this was to you in your interview, but let's talk about the energies of the Elephant versus the Butterfly. So the butterfly is very like friendly, it's very lighthearted, and it's about transformation. Like it's in transition. So this is not a person who's very solid, who knows who they are and what they want and has a very clear point of view and great competence. No, this is a person who's at best like very adaptable and good at flitting around and finding a solution that works for everybody, but it's not the sense of like grounded gravitas or leadership that you would hope for in any kind of role higher up within a company, I would say. And the elephant, it's ironic because the elephant is that. Like the elephant is wise, stable. I think auspicious is the word that they use to describe it in the guidebook. But it's like elephant knows who they are and what to do. And when out of balance, the elephant might not be totally sure about that, about exactly like what does fate have for me or what is my destiny, what direction should I go in. And if you're applying for this job, I'm wondering if you might be a little bit in that questioning space because this is just, it's kind of a strange dynamic. Because look at this. We have the Knight of Wands, Queen of Wands, and Seven of Wands. Like you are bringing all this fire. And I think this is almost like telling the story of how the interview goes. So it starts off with a spark, you catch their attention right away and you show clearly how much you have to offer, how great you'd be in the role. But then we end with the Seven of Wands, which is a defensiveness card for me. It's pulling back. So I almost feel like your energy in the interview, you started off really open, really excited. And by the end, I think even you started to notice like, I don't know if this is for me. Like, I don't know if this person has got it. Can this really be my path? Maybe you were asking. And it's funny, like I'm not getting a lot of like the butterflies energy coming through this reading. It's almost like I can almost imagine a conversation where somebody says, "Hey, butterfly, like I can't make it to this interview today. Can you take it?" And butterfly's like, "Okay, sure. Just let me know some questions to ask." And so butterfly comes into this interview, asks you some questions, but really doesn't have personal investment in whether you get the job or not, really doesn't have a deep understanding of what to be looking for with you, and is just like here punching the clock for that amount of time. You know what I mean? This also gives me, it almost gives me the impression of, I don't know, like an interview at a Chipotle, I guess I'm going to say, or at a McDonald's or something, where the person interviewing you, they're only looking for like one specific thing, like, "Hey, can you take our Tuesday shift? Because we don't have anybody for the Tuesday shift." And you're coming in here like, "Let me tell you about my skills and expertise and how I could revolutionize this restaurant." And Butterfly's like, "Yeah, I just need to know if you can be here Tuesday." And I think I think for you, for Elephant, like there's all these red flags coming up, and it's almost like you're getting this question in yourself of, what am I doing here? Like, why did I choose to be in this interview? Like, forget this other person. Like, why am I here? So it might have given you even kind of like a spiritual crisis moment a little bit. And what else to say about this? I mean, so how did the interview go? I think Butterfly liked you. I think Butterfly is going to pass you on to their higher ups and be like, "Yeah, Elephant's available on Tuesdays," or whatever it is. And if it's, I'm trying to think of like what would be the example of a more professional version of that, or like a higher level. This is like, I'm going to use the example of accounting. Okay. So maybe you're applying for director of accounting job, which I'd be surprised with all this fire if that was what you're going for, but director of accounting, and which of course is about being able to do accounting, but also managing others and looking at the strategy and the direction of the entire department. And Butterfly might come in here and be like, "So have you taken some accounting classes? We really need somebody that has an expertise in this particular specialty in accounting. Do you have that?" And Elephant says yes. And Butterfly's like, "Okay, great. That's all we need to know. I don't have any questions for you about, vision and strategy, how you run a department, how you performance manage, how you motivate a team, how you collaborate with others, how you talk to internal, external stakeholders. No, butterfly has none of those questions. Butterfly only wants to know, do you have training in this one accounting element? Yeah. So, and I guess there's the possibility that maybe you literally would be Butterfly's boss, because sometimes that happens. Sometimes as part of your interview process, you'll meet with somebody that you might be supervising later. So if that's the case in that scenario for the one of you watching, that maybe that's a possibility. They loved you, they had great things to say about you, but the same story applies. Like by the end, you're like, okay, I'm going to have some issues that I'm going to need to address with this person. I can already see it. So I think you're really thinking about whether this is a situation that you want. And let me just pull one card of advice for you on that. I think most of you already kind of know that this is maybe not the situation for you, but for those that may be still deciding, or where there's a possibility that this could be really a good situation, what do you want them to know, please, Spirit, for pile 3? Whoa. We've got Ace of Wands, Page of Pentacles, King of Swords, and King of Cups. I think this is saying, like, there's others that are at this company, not just this butterfly. So, yes, you've judged it accurately based on this one interaction. Whatever you're coming away with about the butterfly is correct, but there are other people to meet. There's other inspiration to be had. So continue your exploration, and it'll become clear to you. And also, it's kind of funny to me, but if this is something you're into, I'll just say it. You might want to check out what the dating prospects are at this workplace also, because there might be some people that you're very attracted to that you may want to get a little closer to. Okay, pile 3? So, sometimes that's a reason to make a job decision. Why not? This was your reading. Please leave me a like, comment, or subscribe to the channel. Private reading info is in the description box. I will see you next time. Thanks so much for coming by. Hey, pile 4, if you picked the wolf, this will be your reading, and we're asking, how did the interview go? We have 4 of Pentacles, and I want to pull a significator for the people interviewing you, people or person. We have you as the wolf, which is an earth sign. We have a few of them falling here. Let's see what else. So Spirit, significator for those interviewing the wolf, please. Okay, we have the dolphin. Okay, pile 4, so let's start out by talking about these two energies. So at first glance, it looks like these two have nothing in common. The wolf and the dolphin. One is in the water, one's on the earth. One's a little bit more predatory, I think of as the wolf, and the dolphin is like more friendly and sociable and I don't know, gregarious is the word that I'm getting. And certainly maybe you see yourself as a little bit more serious than whoever interviewed you, but you actually are very, very similar. Both the wolf and the dolphin have like a spiritual orientation, a lot of wisdom, a lot of, I'm going to say, like democratic feeling, like wanting everyone to be able to find their place and to belong and to be able to heal. And you just have a little bit different ways of going about things. And the wolf can be a little bit more structured, a little bit more by the book, let's say, and a little bit more fixed in their point of view. And the dolphin is more like looking for like, what's possible? What can I create? What are other people that I can partner with to make this work easier? And like, where's the pathway where my burden is light? Whereas the wolf might be more inclined to like do the hard thing and just put one foot in front of the other. Dolphin's looking for what's easy. And so while they might not always understand each other, like there's real benefit in these two partnering up, because the wolf is going to do the hard stuff and the dolphin is going to find the easy way. And on its own, like neither one is perfect. You don't always want to just be doing it the hard way when you don't have to. And sometimes you have to do it the hard way with the dolphin. And we have as like, how did the interview go? The Four of Pentacles. Like, this person does not want to lose you. They want to make an offer. They want to make sure to lock this down. I'm getting for some of you, this might not have been a very traditional interview. This is the first pile where I've gotten a little bit more of like an entrepreneurial vibe or like a partnership vibe. Like, should we go in on this together? Should we like co-teach this program? Should you join our collective? Like, there's some kind of like partnership exploration on the table, more so than like a formal job interview, I would say, for most of you, although certainly it could be a formal job interview. But whatever the case, like, I would say this is the strongest yes so far. Like, this person, you probably got this vibe already that this person likes you, wants to hire you, but maybe you were like, they seem to like everybody, so how can I really know? The dolphin does like everybody, but they're also more astute than you might think. They don't waste their energy is the first thing we could say about the dolphin. Like, they know how to find the easy path, and so they also know how to find that with people. So if they've looked at you and decided that you are the easy path, that's a really good sign, and that seems to be what's happened here. And I actually want to pull a card about that because I'm curious for myself, I guess, to hear a bit more about that, and maybe you are too. So why is the wolf the easy path? Because the wolf is like the tough road person, so why is the dolphin seeing them as like, yes, this is definitely the road for me? We have a whole stack. I'm going to take them this time. We have the Tower, the High Priestess in reverse, the Two of Swords, Death and Rebirth, and the Hierophant, and the Devil in the reverse. Yeah, this is interesting. So why are you the easy path? Well, this person has had a certain experience over and over with people they've partnered with. And it's been that things go really well and then they spectacularly fall apart. And this person isn't sure why that's happening, how to change it, how to get to the evolved spiritual leader status they want to be at. And somehow they sense that you have the key for this. And I'm actually getting that you do have the key for this. And it's just something that they wouldn't expect and they haven't thought of. For most of you, you don't know what it is yet either, because you're just at the beginning of this partnership, but it is going to be very clear and obvious to you. But I'm actually getting that it's not something that's going to come through from something that you say. This is a spiritual partnership, the two of you. Like, you know, if I was looking into the nature of the relationship more, I would probably see a lot of karma, like positive and challenging karma going back and forth between you. Like, this is no accident that you've met each other and that at this point in time, there's something coming together for you. And I actually think that both of you are very prone to wanting to talk things out with people and learn from discussion. And this is not going to be that. I'm specifically hearing feedback, like maybe like giving constructive feedback and receiving open feedback is really important to both of you. And so you're both expecting that that's how you will grow and continue to expand, like in your professional lives. And it's not how it's going to happen in this relationship. It's going to happen through what happens to you and just observing how the other person moves. You're both going to change from this. And it is something that, how do I say this? Like, it is something that you're doing to the dolphin or you're unlocking for the dolphin. But it's not something I need to like give you advice on how to do. Does it make sense? It's like just by your nature and your energy interacting with them, it's like a chemical reaction. It's like what happens when you put these two elements together. Well, like this is what happens, and then there's a learning that occurs on both sides. So, but this is going to be really powerful, especially for the dolphin. I think for the wolf as well. But in this, like what you're going to learn from this is you're going to see your power and your impact on others and how you teach more without words than with. Maybe you've had some frustration in your life that you feel like others don't always understand you when you communicate. You've worked really hard to be clear, concise, and well understood by people. But I think part of the reason you don't have like the gift of gab that maybe you see the dolphin is having is you're a spiritual teacher, but through action, through groundedness. Like you're more of an earth sign type with the wolf here, whether or not that's your sun sign, but it's like you're grounded, you're stable, you're solid. And people learn by like bumping up against your energy and then like what happens to them. So, and if you didn't like me saying like you don't have the gift of gab or the gift of communication, I'm not in any way saying you're a bad communicator, actually. That's not what's coming through. I think you're just not like a 10 out of 10 like this dolphin. Like this, I feel like dolphin could, sell a ketchup popsicle to a white lady, a lady wearing white gloves. Why does it have to be a white lady? A lady wearing white gloves. Oh my goodness. I knew I was not going to probably get that that example right when I said it, but anyway. So, but coming back to our question, like how did the interview go? Like this is a done deal. Like this person wants you. It's like I think you already know you kind of have this job or it's in the bag because this is extraordinarily positive, pile 4. And I'm excited for you. Did I say this already? Maybe I started to and I don't know if I quite got there, but the gift for you in this partnership is you're going to see your power and how influential you are. And it's not through words, it's through action. And so because of that, like my personal point of view is that when change comes in from what somebody else says, that's primarily mental, sometimes heart. But when it's through action, that's through the body and maybe a bit of heart as well. It's like we don't have to mentally understand it for the change to happen. The change just rolls through us. And there's just extraordinary power in that, pile 4. So I'm excited for you. Please share about this in the comments if you'd like to say anything about your situation. I wish you all the best. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Hey pile 5, welcome to your reading. If you picked the crow and the deer, let's see what cards you have. We've got the 10 of Wands, the 5 of Wands, the 2 of Cups, the 8 of Wands, and the Sun. Wow. And I want to pull now a significator for the person you're interviewing with. So let's do that. So pile 5, who is pile 5 interviewing with? Who is pile 5 interviewing with? Let's see what wants to come out for pile 5. I keep seeing the crocodile, but it's not popping out yet. Who is pile 5 interviewing with? Okay, we have the raccoon. All right. This is so interesting. Okay, so let's talk about these energies here. So the crow and the deer you're represented by, this is like magical. I mean, look at the crow here. There's this like globe of energy that I really think this is representing like all the chakras. And the crow is basically a psychic energy. It's seeing beyond the veil, very grounded, stable, all-seeing, all-knowing, combined with the deer. So the deer is the mother archetype. It's gentle, it's nurturing, it's infinitely patient. So like you over here, it's like you're brimming, like bursting with this creative energy, with this potential, with this value to just spill into this workplace or wherever it's going to go. And you're wanting to nurture it into being. And then we have the raccoon, or like trash panda is my favorite word for a raccoon. Also a very artistic energy, but to me, I mean, any of these can be in balance or out of balance, but I'm getting the vibe that for your interview, this is like more out of balance. And whether it was one person or many people, with the raccoon, like a stressed out raccoon, There's like this feeling of overwork, and there's not enough for everybody, like competition. So, have you ever been in an interview where the person interviewing you is openly competing with you? It's very uncomfortable. I've had it happen. And it's not a good look, not a good look at all. But it lets you know a bit about the environment and the person that is interviewing you. You know, that they feel threatened by your skills, by your presence, or maybe even by you potentially taking this job. Like maybe this person has another candidate that they're eyeing for the position, or they even have like promised the position, or, you know, as a favor, or who knows what is happening here for the raccoon. But they are very defensive coming into this interview. And I feel like we have the story of what happens here. So I think you get a pretty rough start in this interview. We have 10 of wands and then the 5 of wands. So it's like pushing a rock uphill. It's like, what does this person want? How do we find the flow? But you're the crow and the deer. So like you're figuring out like, how do I partner? We have the two of cups in the middle of the reading. So I think by about halfway through the interview, you figured out, okay, I've got Raccoon's number. This is what Raccoon needs to chill out a little bit, and how I can support them, let them know that I'm here, not to take their job, not to advance over them or make their life difficult, but to make their life easier and to help them, like cooperate with them around their goals. And so once Raccoon understands that, there's just this explosion of positivity here. 8 of wands plus the sun. Are you kidding me? Like, this is amazing. It's like something clicks in the Raccoon's mind. Maybe they had a certain idea of you before you came in, but then afterwards, it's like their eyes are opened and they're like, wow, these are all the possibilities there could be with me and this person. This could be really amazing. Maybe I do really want them. Maybe this could be a really positive thing. So you totally win them over in this interview. And for whatever reason, whether it's internal to the raccoon or some of your materials that they saw, like your resume or whatever, they had a very negative impression of you. And actually, what's coming to mind right now is that it's from where you're from. So which you will know better than me what that is. Like, is it that you're from a different state? Is it like the kind of family you're from, the language you speak, your nationality? I don't know. But this person has some kind of discrimination against you that they've seen in your material so far. Like, oh, all people from Saskatchewan are like this, whatever. So Raccoon's got some head trash going on. I'm not going to lie. Really, they need to be appreciated for what they bring to the table, and for some reason they're not feeling appreciated. And this, I'm really getting the artist vibe like this with this. It gives me the impression of the idea of the talent. Like if there's the talent who's working on a project, like the writer or the creative director, my opinion anyway, is that kind of personality really needs to have space to be drawn out. Be like, what is your vision? What's important to you here? How can I support you? Because so often, if they're an artist, they're like going left and everybody else wants to go right. And there can be this frustration that builds up of like, nobody's hearing me, nobody's understanding me, everybody wants something different and wants me to like this thing that I don't like. And so they're coming into this interview like, I don't like pile 5. Like, I don't want this person. They're not right for it. And nobody appreciates me. And look at everything that I have to offer. And we're not even going to talk about that. And I'm stuck for an hour with this person listening to them talk about how amazing they are. So, but you're going to transform this if you haven't already. And if you had this interview, it's like at some point, this person was able to relax, open their heart a bit more, connect with you, see that you're there not to like take something from them, but to add something for them. And they just really appreciated it. And they felt good by the end. And coming in, I mean, look at this 10 of wands. Like maybe this person even was like late to the interview and like, oh, all this stuff I've got to do. I'm so frustrated. I'm so overwhelmed. And you're able to totally give them a transformative other experience by the end. So this is really cool. I mean, I'm sorry for you that if you take this job, then you're working with this raccoon who seems like they might be a little tricky, a little temperamental to deal with. But but I'm sure it's not the only person you'd be working with, you know? And so how did the interview go? By the end, really well. I think you felt this. I think you felt also proud of yourself for how you adapted and how you handled this. I mean, it's almost like not as extreme in some of the other piles where it felt like, you know, the person being interviewed should have been in charge. Not as extreme with this one, but you definitely sensed the dynamic and added value and showed leadership potential. So what else here? What am I missing for pile 5, Spirit? Anything else you want them to know about how this interview went or will go? The Magician in reverse and the Two of Pentacles in the reverse with the Chariot in reverse at the bottom of the deck. I think you just need to know that there's a lot of these kinds of personalities in this workplace. So this is not an isolated incident. You will have to be in the energy that you were in the interview often in your work, which might be quite a drain on you, actually. And things will probably move very slowly. Change will be very slow. You're going to meet a lot of manipulative people who are very competitive in this workspace. And so you're bringing in this like beautiful collaborative energy. And so I think Spirit's just letting you know, like, hey, it's great that you're so collaborative, but you actually have a lot to learn from Raccoon about how to protect yourself, how to be prickly, I'm hearing, how to get what you need, not through cooperation, but through power and manipulation, actually. And manipulation is often used as a negative word. It can be positive. I mean, sales is manipulation. Like, oh, you're not interested in this part of the widget, but this part, I'm going to just steer the conversation over to the part that you're interested in. Like, that's manipulation, but it serves everyone, you know? So yeah, I do think you'll be invited for another round of interviews if this was a first round, or you'll be offered the job if it's final. Mostly because like Raccoon doesn't realize how twisted they are. They've maybe been a little bit poisoned by this work environment and see themselves in you in some way, and so they want to. I think in this just brief interaction, it's giving them hope for their job and for life. Like, I know that sounds extreme, but that's really what I'm getting. So I think the question for you, pile 5, is can you enter into this scenario and setting without getting kind of swallowed up by it, you know? So this was your reading, pile 5. How did the interview go? Great. You know that already. Leave me a like, comment, or subscribe. I'd love to hear about it in the comments if you want to share anything, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey, pile 6, welcome to your reading. You picked the Scorpion as your significator, and we have Justice. Okay. Hey, like to see justice in an interview reading. You know, it's because sometimes people don't give you the job because of nepotism or something shady. But justice tells me, like, if you deserve the position, if you are qualified, you will get it. And if you're not, you probably won't. So, I mean, I really believe that that's best for everybody, that the right, most just thing happens. But let's see. On the interviewer side, can I have a significator for the interviewer, please, Spirit? We have the snake. Okay, Scorpion and the snake. Wow. I feel like there's some kind of, isn't there like a cartoon about a fight between a scorpion and a snake? I'm not sure. Okay, so pile 6. I actually I'm getting that there's not a clear answer for everyone here at this pile. Like, the dynamic will be truthful for all of you, but whether or not you get the job is going to be different for every person. So if you're here just for a clear answer about like how did the interview go, will I get the job, go back and pick another pile also, or I also have a yes or no video on my channel that will give you a clear yes or no and why, and I think it's like in 2 minutes or something like that. But let's talk about the Scorpion and the snake. So the Scorpion, the Scorpion is a creative energy. It's passionate, it's fiery. You can see like the fire coming out of their tail there. And this is like the part of all of us, like when we know who we are, what we want to create, and we're trying to make something happen, which in this case maybe is you getting this job. But there can be like a competitive or like pushing feeling that comes through here. But sometimes that's really called for, like that fierceness, that intensity. And sometimes it's not. So, it depends on your situation here, but that's how you're showing up. And then the snake is about transformation. It's about potential. And what I love here is how you both have this, like, the creature in the center and then all these like shards around it. So I think you're very similar. But it's just like, well, let me keep talking about the snake. So the snake is like something about to transform, like unrealized potential, like at the beginning of a project, beginning of a hire, here's what I want to see happen, and here's the leadership I need to make it happen and how to get there. And so the snake is holding this vision. And what I'm getting is that whether or not they hire you is going to be based on how you come across to them. Because in every case, you can help with this. Like, you have the passion and the fierceness of like to make this happen. Let me read. I actually want to read to you from the book. It's just a few sentences long about the scorpion, because I think this will help you figure out for yourself whether you're on the balanced side of the scorpion or the out of balance side. So, scorpion, passionate, competitive, tends towards isolation. The scorpion is a passionate and determined creature. Their career is very important to them, as are a few select friends. Sometimes the scorpion's heat festers, and they focus on an unresolved event from the past, usually a situation where they were left feeling burned. The scorpion card says it's time to come clean about your feelings so everyone can heal and you can get back to your usual fiery but fun self. When in balance, wild and free and fierce. When out of balance, jealous, resentful, and unresolved. To bring into balance honesty and forgiveness. So, did some of you in this pile maybe like talk badly about a previous employer? Or maybe you just were fired, or this, to me, this is the equivalent of being on a date and somebody asks you about your exes and you talk about your exes the whole time. So if you did that, if you use this interview as a way to kind of work through some of your feelings about a negative job situation from the past, this person's not going to hire you because, justice, that is, I think you would feel the same way, pile 6. And I'm not throwing any shade on you if you did that. Like, it happens. Sometimes it's how we learn. Sometimes the things we experience in life, it's just what it's for. Like, maybe this was just for you to be able to unburden yourself with those thoughts and feelings, If you did not do that, if you were able to keep your feelings in check, if you were able to focus on the fire and fierce energy you want to bring to this project and keep any negative or festery feelings from the past out of the interview, then this was very positive and they're going to want to hire you. So you'll know, like, and I feel like this is pretty obvious. If it was an hour interview and you spent 20 minutes talking about other workplaces, it's probably going to be a no. But if that wasn't your experience and you didn't say anything negative or disparaging about past workplaces, then this would be a yes. But in either case, I feel like this whole interview experience is feedback for you with the justice card. It's like, either way, the result is because of your actions. Because I think there was a moment in this interview where you had a decision point where you could say, okay, I'm going to go there about my previous employer, or I'm not going to. And whatever decision you made there is what impacted this interview the most. What else, Spirit? Anything I'm missing about that for pile 6 to hear? It's interesting. This is very different from all the other piles, like going into the dynamic here, but Spirit must want to tell you about it while they have your attention. Anything else? Pile 6, please. The Emperor and the 3 of Pentacles in the reverse. Yeah, this person, the snake, is very, very in charge, very strategic, And they've seen it all, okay? And they don't have the time or the energy for someone who's not going to be collaborative or somebody who is going to be gossipy or backbiting. And I'm not saying that you are that way, but for some of you, you may have given that impression if you're in that group that like talked about the other workplace. And so if you gave that impression, then they would have decided like this is not a collaborative person. But if you didn't go there, then they would feel really good about you and want to bring you in. Okay, so this was your reading, pile 6. If you wanted a more clear yes or no, again, check out my yes or no video or go back and pick another pile for more clarity. And I hope this was helpful for you. Leave a comment, let me know about your situation and whether this resonated or not for you. I'm always curious to hear that. And I will see you in the next reading. Thanks for coming by.